That's good. Very nice. Okay, I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Orleans County Industrial Development Agency Board of Directors on this Friday, on March 13th, 2022 at 8:06 a.m. Diane, if you would start by calling the roll, please.
Hey, everybody's here but Ed Urbanik and Carol D'Agostino.
Okay, so we do have a quorum. You all received copies of the previous board minutes, April 8th, 2022. Any additions, corrections, deletions to those minutes? Hearing none, be happy to entertain a motion to accept the minutes. Motion by Skip, seconded by John. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Moving right along, financials. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning. So right now, the IDA checking account sits at $51,450.75. Pilot account at 0. Revolving loan funds at $21,297.61. Land rest corp is at $100,511.54, and then our gain account is at $146,871.70. Going through the financials for this month from a transaction standpoint, we haven't had a lot of activity this month. Kind of a good thing, and a bad thing altogether. Overall, we did 47,500. That was from our county contribution from a revenue standpoint. And then our expenses were roughly 55,573. So a net negative effect of 77, 73, and 97 cents. One thing that I did do this past week is look at reforecasting our budget to see where we're standing at to finish the year. So we'll kind of target what we're looking at. Based on everything that has been occurring and not occurring. I originally budgeted 421,000 in fees revenue. I now adjusted that down to 221,000. That's comprised of the hotel going through and getting their pilot done this year. They made some progress in conversations, but that's still few months out. Part of that is accruing fees from OCR projects, consulting fees, and then the Big Guys camping that closed back earlier this year. Start the year that was up to 35,000, and then the Brunner land sale that's going to be going through at some point in the next month or two. IDA's portion of that would be 30,000. Obviously, 30,000 would go to Land West Corporation on the property. So that's breaking up to 221. And then for the rest of the year, from contributions from support from the community, 190,000 from the county, 15,500 from our local municipalities. Contributions towards marketing. So that was 205. So grand total 431,100 on a budget of 630,400. Expenses, I scaled back some things based on how trends have been going. Healthcare expenses internally, as well as cutting out a few things that fortunately needed to cut out. But overall expenses for the year we're estimating 579,144. Now those expenses include our marketing, our need to finish up some things with Bella on the traffic study, as well as our normal everyday expenses. So we're looking hard at grants to help support those cases. Dina's been working diligently with me on grant opportunities for us to consider for administrative purposes where we're administering the grant, receiving the funds. We have our intermunicipal, interagency agreements with COIDA, Land Rest, and LDC for basically IDA staff running the two other agencies, and then the payback flow through to come back through. So we're working to kind of get this set up, but you know, we do need other things to come to fruition, and they will. You know, Land Rest Corporation has the two grants, or the two loan grants with Zambistros and Velocity. Zambistros 39,000 paid back over 3 years, estimated this year about 13,000 come back this year, unless they pay it all up sooner, which would be great too. So the potential that could get paid forward. Same thing with Velocity. Velocity, we're looking at 256,000 paid back to us over the course of 3 years. Again, potentially they would pay that back sooner rather than later. So there's opportunity there based on when the payback of those portions of the loan would come into play. But until we see some finite action and the actual loans are completed with us, and Kevin's been working diligently to help get those loan agreements done. That's kind of where we stand on those.
So is there a deficit?
We're looking at a deficit of about 142,000 as of right now, finished the year. There's still opportunity to cut more out, but we're just jeopardizing ourselves in the long term of doing the things we need to do to, you know, promote Orleans County, the work we need to do in the business parks. You know, unfortunately, there's a price tag on everything. And it's just the cost of doing business. I mean, but, you know, total, just to give you an idea, Dina and I are working, and total grants that we've applied for thus far is 2.8 million to help fund activities. Now, you know, like any grant, you're not guaranteed to get it, receive it this year. It could be next year. But so there's kind of a gap in there. Obviously, we've been working diligently with National Grid from a marketing standpoint. They do dollar for dollar matching. So that's where we can kind of cut our marketing stuff in half to a certain degree and have National Grid help support those activities. So we're exhausting everything right now. We're even looking at teaming up with Cornell Cooperative on some joint submission for grants where we're helping administer their grant. And there's administrative personnel fees entitled into that we can pull into the agencies and help support our efforts here. But we're exhausting all options. You know, it's just a matter of if, when, and how.
So we've had some times in the past, and you gentlemen will remember this well, where in the short term, we've really had to do some belt tightening. And we've used a variety of different sources to help us through that. I appreciate everything that you're going through and being the eternal optimist. I don't have sleepless nights, but if we wind up getting into that situation, would you have a recommendation for us of where we might need to go to help us through this short term?
In the short term, and I think I alluded to this like last meeting, is I think what we want to get done in the business park, the EV charging stations. I mean, Dina's been great. The amount of work she's put into applying for grants, there's obviously a cost to that. She's not taking that cost to us until those grants hit. And she'll take an administrative filing fee out of it. So she's been great, and that's about 20,000. Just so you guys know, there's a number of grants and such. Some of the grants are matching on that. So if we get the grant, we have to put in 20% of that contribution. I'll give you an example. The rural project contribution, our contribution will be 130,000. If there's two different grants we applied for, looking at the Medina Business Park Kepler site portion of trying to look at acquiring that. You know, depending on which grant we hit on, you know, it's going to be anywhere from 100 to 300,000 for contribution from that. And obviously I mentioned the National Grid grants, dollar for dollar. On that, EVs 37,000. So a lot of numbers I'm throwing around. And I brought this up last week about the ARPA funds. Now, we do have revenue coming in. The OCR projects are going to go through. Gabe possibly has another OCR project in the pipeline that would equate to additional revenue. Yes, the wind projects kind of threw this all haywire. Now, we do have the Brunner land sale coming through.
You haven't mentioned Bowman, is that off the table?
No,
I've got that coming up.
that's not off the table. That's still potential for another land sale with them. You know, but that's all contingent upon logistics and what they need to do from on their business standpoint. The ideal situation is to consider I don't know how you want to word it, ARPA funds from the county or loan from the county. Pursue 350,000 from the county to be paid back over a 3-year period, deferred for the first year. If possible, obviously Skip and John, you're in the room and you sit on that legislative committee. Doesn't mean we have to spend it, but it gives us the cushion of, okay, we can now, oh wait, our EV stations are coming through. We know it's 37,000. We don't have to use that money until September. All right. I look at it as one of two things. We know it's there to get the work done, that as grants come in and we have to do a matching contribution, we can do it. I know we're going to have funding coming in the long term to pay that back. But at least this way,
Basically seed money.
And part of that is we do have to show in the Medina Business Park Kepler site purchase, we have to show the contribution in or the funds available in our checking account as proof
But
we
you can do it.
can do it. So that's the catch-22. Like, I would love to have had that check from Heritage Wind in Q2, but I don't. Just don't. You know, Carmen's working diligently to get that rectified on the project standpoint, but
And that'll happen.
that'll happen.
That'll happen.
You know, it's just
Well,
timing.
and in the past, we've gone the line of credit route. I mean, in my opinion, if the county were to be so generous to assist us in the way that you just mentioned, that's probably a preferred route
Mhm.
County's
than a
loaned you
line
money
of
before.
credit
Yeah.
account. Pardon me?
County's loaned you money before,
Right, right.
so I don't.
I'm just saying that to me, that's a preferred route than going the line of credit because now
It's
you've got on
in-house.
your books this liability that you know.
Well, it goes back to credit worthiness. If we had to ever go the route of borrowing at a bank, okay, well, what's this line of credit you have outstanding?
Right. Well, I would say just keep us all up to date. Thanks for
Yeah.
letting us know where we're at.
My opinion, going through the county would be obviously preferable.
Mhm.
That an unsecured loan or how do you?
Yeah.
The last one was,
What if
yes.
we couldn't pay it back on time? I know we pay it back over.
We know where they live.
I don't foresee us not being able to pay it back. I think there's enough activity
It's
going
just like
on.
a kind of a cash flow crunch
It-
type.
It's a bridge.
I
bridge.
hate to
Yeah.
say it, COVID killed this
Everything.
agency before I
And then
started,
some.
and then some. And now
But we're climbing back out of it. We just
Correct.
need a little assistance,
you
in
know,
my opinion, to get back out of it and get back on
Right.
track.
Mhm.
We've got a lot of things that are in the future.
mhm.
that
And
are
I'm
gonna
not
be
trying to be
exciting.
negative, I'm just cautious.
I agree.
I agree.
I agree, John.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is that 350 the most realistic number? Or
Most realistic number. I would ask for 450, but being realistic, I really don't need a
That
full
much.
450. I'm saying, looking at all the math, 350
is doable?
is doable, we can make work.
Ask for what you need, so you don't have to ask twice.
Right.
Okay.
That's what I was getting at.
We've been down this road.
Yes, we have.
We've been under, we have under,
Councilman. Councilman.
we've been on this path before. And, you know, there was an expectation that we were going to get that money. And I can pretty much tell what's coming in, but I also think that, you know, it puts a pressure on you, it puts a pressure on Diane, puts a pressure on me. If you just have a little bit of a cushion,
A bigger cushion.
yeah.
Mhm.
Whether you
um,
use it or not.
That was my
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
That's the
you
thing,
know,
it's like-
so,
It's too much. It's
We might
too
apply
much.
for these loans, and we might get one.
no, I'm saying about the 350, like Skip
Yeah.
said, ask for what you need, so you don't
Okay.
have to ask twice.
Okay.
Type right.
Good advice, thank you.
Well, I'll tell, the county's in a really good cash position right now.
Mhm.
The people,
When everybody wants it.
you know, if you look over in the county building, it looks like vultures hovering for the ARPA funds. It really does. It's amazing. People call and demand you use it for, give somebody a new ambulance. And they demand it. It's like, you can demand
You got it.
That's all
You
right.
got the
Thank-
money.
Thanks for your call. So I don't know that they're gonna just pass out the ARPA funds and say, here you go, it's yours, but I think they're in a position to give you a loan. That's why I want you to ask for what you need,
Okay.
because they have the cash to loan to you.
Okay.
Good advice, thank you.
We've had other situations where we had to go back twice.
And that's what I don't want you.
Okay.
Am I right?
Gotcha.
And we have, and you know, if you don't need it.
Well, then you
have
got kind of a credibility issue.
Yeah.
Listen, if
Just
it's in the
look like
bank,
you don't have a handle on what you're doing.
yes.
Yes,
Right.
And if it's in the bank, you don't spend it, it's easier to pay back, just.
Correct, exactly.
You could use that to pay back.
Yeah, essentially.
Besides, you can divide 450 by 3.
That is true.
Just protecting you.
No, that makes sense. Okay. Perfect.
Okay, anything more on financials? Any more questions or comments?
Well, put something together to give Lynn, don't you know? not-
No, I'll draft. No,
Okay.
that was my plan. I'm gonna
Okay.
draft something. I'm not gonna leave this just,
'Cause they're gonna, this, you have folks in it are gonna ask for details. I think the easiest answer, and I've already told Lynn and Jack, prepare for the ED, and I didn't know you were gonna do this. I think you're gonna be asked for a loan because we budgeted monies that aren't gonna happen this year, so.
Correct.
They know this is coming,
Mhm.
so. The door is pretty wide open, just
Yep.
ask for what you need.
Yep, I'll do that. I'll have a finite number and then the details to support
up.
why we want that number.
Can you circulate that to us so we know what's going on?
I sure can. Before I give it to them, I'll send it out to everybody via email.
Yeah, you know, the key is, the money that we get is for generation of
More money.
future revenue.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not like buying a capital piece of equipment. Right.
Right, yeah, we're using the money to create expansion of the business park to then generate the sales tax revenue for municipalities and.
Right.
I mean, the Bowmat land sale that went through last year, it's now back on the books come this year.
Right.
So that's now taxable land. That wasn't before.
and I don't know, maybe, I don't know whether you remember it, but you're new on the legislature. We purchased that property that was part of a purchase
Mhm.
probably 25 years ago. That was part of the original BMP take form, where take form is now, and where that property is from Waters. So, you know, when the IDA purchased that whole stream, it took that long for that particular parcel to get on the, you know, to get on the tax rolls. But I think historically, I just kind of wanted to remind everyone how that all came together. And
Cruise Run wasn't built in a day.
no, and in our case, it never is. It's,
Years.
it is.
But it's an investment in the future. And that's what
Correct.
we've always got to keep our eye on that ball.
And that's what we're doing, and that's, you know, Dean and I've been talking about this Fast New York program that's coming out through the state. They're gonna give out 200 million for getting sites shovel ready or enhancing existing shovel ready, certified shovel ready sites. Well, we know we potentially need power upgrades in Medina, potentially, and we need road utility extensions in further into the park. We know Burns and Maddox wants to potentially get that site certified shovel ready. We know there's another site in Medina potentially they're looking at. Depending on which way they want to go, may want to turn that site into that 60 acres, certified shovel ready. But they're developers that want to reinvest in us being the entity that we are. If we can be their partner to help
To
get
make that
that,
happen.
then we can hopefully drive additional, and then obviously we can market it. We've got now 3 sites, well, 4 if you count by Business Park North, and Business Park South.
Right.
4 sites through.
Right.
Just in Medina, obviously we still have Howell. So, but it's something that, you know, working with GRE, I think our relationship with GRE has really picked up a lot lately, and finding different ways to utilize that relationship to push the envelope to find different ways.
Any other questions or comments on financials? If not, be happy to entertain a motion to accept the IDA OLRC monthly financials. John, seconded by John. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is carried. All right, moving on. Business development. Good morning, Gabrielle.
Good morning. Well, it's been very, very busy this month. You may have read where there was a Medina Business Park, or Medina area had a failure in the water line. And that, I want to explain that because Pride Pack, we've been working with Pride Pack since then. It happened that National Grid hit the 18-inch water main in front of Pride Pack. It had nothing to do with a failure on the part of the system. They hit the water main. And of course, it was on, I believe, a Wednesday or a Thursday, and it got to be very, very hectic since, as you know, Pride Pack's major customer is Wegmans. So all the product was not out to Wegmans. So they did a great job. Niagara County Water came in as well as Niagara County itself. And they're working, they worked on this. It brings to mind that many of the projects that we are responding to on the water, we've talked in the past about a dual fee. I don't know, but that is one of the things that I think you're going to have to look at in these next round, the possibility of it. But there is going to be a claim for damages from the village and from Pride Pack onto National Grid. But it did cause some problems. And Pride Pack, I wanted to share this with you. You know, they went through a lot before but they are now termed as a very valued partner by Wegmans.
Wow.
So they got back. And we've had some very long conversations. And I wanted you to be aware of the background. It had nothing to do with the failure of the system, and there's been a lot of conversation about that.
Well, was it just operator error, or are the water lines not appropriately marked on maps?
Well, what
Especially
happened
if
was
it's-
that you'll see that power line coming down in front of Pride Pack, and then all of a sudden it was tilting. One of the poles was tilting. So they called National Grid. National Grid came in and they went to the village at night, and they said, well, stake this. And they said, well, all you got to do is stay right where you are and just move it down a little bit, you know, right in line with where you are, and there's no problem. Well, it isn't what happened. So, and they've acknowledged it, but it was, it impacted business. It also brought a lot of other things to the forefront. So we have to get behind that, and we have to get behind both Pride Pack, and there's been numerous conversations with them in the village, but the claim has been filed, and we'll have to look at how we're going to support this ongoing, because it got to be very, well, this is a lot of conversation. Zambistro's OCR project is moving along quite well. And that seems to be going exactly as we anticipated. The hiring, they're online with hiring. I think they're going to do their first draw. Velocities, OCR application has been revised and signed off by the town of Ridgeway. The only revision that took place was that we took the funding from, they were going to expand into another portion of the pickle factory. They are now doing more, their employment is now more home-based. The pickle factory is still their main operation, but they're also in Rochester, they're also in different homes. So we're taking it and we use the money as working capital. That is now at OCR to be, as of yesterday, they expect to have that signed off and approved by the beginning of the week. So no change in anything. Employment is still the same. And I don't see any problem, but that was, you know, that got to be a little bit, well, it got to be like a lot of other projects, but there's, they have approximately 130 employees now. So that's going along with a great deal of conversation in the background, but that seems to be okay. Take Form reported earlier this week that they have about 200 employees. They have contacted me. They said, you know what, we have a project coming up and we want to know what we can do. It's not an expansion project, but it's an investment project. And we want to know how we can, what you can do for us. So once they get, it's going to be a few months before they get all those figures together. But I certainly think that there are ways that we can support it. Certainly OCR will be one of them. We'll take a look at the state, but they are doing very well as far, and they seem to be maintaining their employment. I also have been contacted by Teacher Geek. They have a project that they want to talk a little bit more about. It's an investment project. They've done an expansion over there.
Huge expansion.
Yes, and he said, I need to go to the next level. And so we'll be talking with them a little bit more about that as that moves along. Stockham Lumber, I met with them, talked with them first, and then met on site with them yesterday. They have established a separate entity. It's not completely done legally yet. It should be in the next week or so. They are doing stair manufacturing. And this has been quite a good area. They kind of got a little bit, got their feet in the water a little bit. They bought additional property and that's doing very well. We're looking at doing an OCR with them. They're also doing some other on-site expansion work that we are looking at where we can help them. The rail grant that we have, we're going to contact, we're going to contact the rail and actually meet on site in the next couple of weeks. That grant that we have, we want to be sure that we all understand how that can operate. They have had calls, and we did have a call from a company, two companies. They had a call from one company, we had a call from another company, and said, you know what, we might be able to utilize a rail opportunity if you have it in Howell. So that would help them. And one of those companies was Hilton Spencer Port Express. Now, Hilton Spencer Port Express, and you asked about Bomet. Bomet evaluated the rail extensively for both Albion and Medina. It doesn't work for them right now. It certainly isn't going to work for Albion, simply because there's too much cost. There's several different points that they have to go through, and the cost is so excessive, it doesn't make sense for them. But what does make sense is that they have started, according to Bo, they've started a number of relationships within a 6-hour drive of Orleans County. So I said to them, well, if that's the case, and you're running into a transport, perhaps we can help with that. So we have done an initial introduction with Hilton Spencer Port Express, and we're having a conference call later this morning between Hilton Spencer Port Express and Beaumont. Could they possibly be used? Because obviously the Medina operation, we need to cure this. We need to help in a solution for getting product to both Medina and Albion as give them alternatives. So, and Hilton Spencer Port Express had already called me about another one of our buildings and that would be the former Staffy site. They need more space. So he said, you know what, we probably need to talk again. He said, I'm not sure, but do we need to talk again about possibly building? He said, I just have more business than I have. So that's another conversation that we're going to have with them. We've had it in the past. But the rail in Holly could help them come to that decision perhaps. So those conversations are ongoing. We've mentioned before a project on West Orchard Street in Medina. We have an update on that. That due diligence is continuing. And BME is over there. And they have done they've done the evaluation on the wetlands, and it's very positive. So they've got further to go, but that is, that's moving along as it should. I received several calls from Western New York Energy. They have 3 different projects that they're talking about. Actually, he said to me, could I get the land across the street where your business sign is? Here you go. I said, that has been sold. They're looking at something, something that where they're going to be doing the combination of the electric, maybe their own fuel, some type of subtype project such as that. That's just one of 2 or 3 that they're looking at.
And the biogeneration.
Yes.
using the byproducts to generate
Yes.
electricity.
And they have their new pure ethanol, which is more of that's something else that they've already just gotten past. But their product is not. He said to me, do you know where trucks have to be fueled? And I said, of course. I said, when they get off the thruway. He said, yes, there's no other place for them. He said, we need to be taking a look at what we can offer. And I said, well, you realize we also identified the issue that we have this challenge on Bates Road. It's not the Bates Road. It's 31A is a state road, and all of that traffic pattern there, we don't have enough to support what we need to do there. But that's where he's, so we're having some of these ongoing conversations with him. And I also offered him some other ideas but I'm going to take a look at their mapping and see that whole site, how it's developed. So those things are not going to, we know that Western New York Energy is going to do a couple of other expansions. It's just, we're doing a lot with them right now. Any questions on that? I think we did West Orchard Street, we've done Stockholm, we've done Western New York Energy, Van Bistros. Okay.
Good, thank you, Gabriel. Moving on, project update.
Yeah, so a week and a half ago, I was out in driving through Lindenville. Robert Smith's working on the Main Street grant project in Lindenville, which was the restoration of the former buildings on Main Street and reconverting them into a hotel, and then a co-op similar to what's here in Albion on Main Street on the lower level. His expectation finish date is in June, where he'll have 8 hotel rooms go online in Lindenville for sale for renting out, fishermen or whatever, weekend weddings. They'll start renting those out come June. He basically, when I was in there 2 weeks ago, Insulation, electric, everything was up this week. I talked with one of the contractors. They were finishing up drywall mudding and they expect to have painting done early next week. So that's moving along nicely. Obviously, we haven't had too much of a hand. I know National Grid, Mary Grace has been working with Robert on a National Grid grant. And we're going to look at some power opportunities for Robert from a grant standpoint from National Grid as well. But it's an added benefit to the community of Lindenville. And then the co-op space, he's looking at doing that, having a coffee shop, bakery in there, as well as partnering with
Darlene,
on doing chef table
Kitchen.
cooking classes
Yep.
in the one section. They need to, he's got to work on the roof of the one building first and replace that. And then that's where the chef's classes and cooking classes will start working in Lindenville. Actually, I think it's kind of neat. It's not something we have around here.
Well, the Main Street looks even better with that, you know, how they did the dollar store, and that's
Yeah.
right, they
Yep.
paid a lot of attention to aesthetics, which is nice.
Yep, and Robert's continuing with the farmers markets on Friday evenings. There where the one building, the former Penny Saver was, well, roof caved in and they tore it down, but they're continuing on with the farmers markets in there and then having food trucks in there. And he was talking with live music now on that Friday night to coincide with the farmers market. So some nice added benefits are going to be happening with that. We received 2 inquiries from this past couple of weeks. GRE is working on a project QP. It's an advanced manufacturing project, looking at about 80 to 100 acres of land. We've submitted a RFI for that. They'd be looking at the Kepler site for that. David from GRE was meeting with the site selector yesterday, so hopefully to hear some feedback on that, on what they're thinking on basically what we submitted, what our infrastructure looks like, get some feedback on what they're thinking on potentially that for opportunity. This past week, Invest Buffalo Niagara sent us a Project Lake. It is a milk operation, dairy ag related project. They're looking at quite a bit of acreage as well, similar. It's early on, so but we fit the bill on just about everything. The only question is gas. It's the one unknown how much gas we actually have available in the Medina Business Park. So they're going to work with NICEAG to find that out and see what kind of. I think when we looked at some other opportunities for ag related dairy operations in the past, a large amount of gas, natural gas was needed for that. And I think NICEAG had given us a quote of just over $1 million for upgrades needed to get to that BTU level needed to operate that. It's a similar operation, but it's like 125 jobs for the area, which is a nice thing to see. So hopefully more to come on that. And then Raven at GRE also reached out 2 weeks ago. There's a warehouse distribution company looking at 10 acres for setting up a distribution point for advanced manufacturing products. So looking at the Medina Business Park North on that. Hopefully we'll hear some more on that. But that's, you know, in terms of power and what actually needs, that's a bigger lift on that to fit that in there for the 10 acres. So hopefully we'll get some feedback on that too as well. I met with Wendy of Lenoken a few weeks ago. They're potentially looking at some opportunities with gain loans and OCR, depending on what they want to do. You know, they want to do some upgrades to the refrigeration. They want to start getting more into the higher volume canning, bottling purposes of doing it themselves at a higher level. So we're going to keep talking and look at opportunities for expansion with them, which is great to hear. Because I think they're our only person using the gain account right now. You know, them to use that again would be great to help them out. So early on conversations, but that will continue on as well. And that's what I have for project updates.
Didn't one of those projects need access to rail? It didn't have to be right on site. I think
Oh,
one of them did.
the Project Lake, the ag dairy. They wanted rail on site. I communicated with Matt and let him know we got a couple opportunities. We had the Medina team track less, about a mile away. That's an opportunity existing. I also let them know we are exploring via our Jim Whipple expansion project of the rail from Western New York Energy into Medina Business Park South. I let them know that was underway, and we just didn't have a timeline of when that study would be completed, but it's being examined. I did let them know that. He wasn't aware of those two things. So, it's just interesting. We keep hearing about rail, and here we go, an ag business looking, and it's mostly for finished product. It sounds like what's coming in is going to be raw milk, and then what the actual finished product going out is. I asked, and I don't know yet. So, what's going out will kind of dictate type of rail, if they can unload, offload, or load in Medina or not. That'll probably dictate based on the product that's going out, I'm sure. So the refrigerated cars, or if it's we're just finishing up and changing the product and put it into a different liquid form, and it can go out by tankers and
Right.
change it too, but we just don't know right now. Just don't know. So, but it's good to see that our efforts to enhance the rail for Orleans County is, proving a point that we're on the right track with what we're doing with that. So.
Okay, any questions? Moving on, facility sites.
Yeah, I alluded to a little earlier, GRE is starting to field out where they can assist with this fast New York business park shovel readiness enhancements and expansion, because that's under hopeful one of the things that she's looking at, getting more certified shovel ready sites available. So we're going to work with the GRE to help get support from them. And then once the state releases the application and requirements for that grant and what they're looking at, then we'll pursue that further and have Tina get involved to help formulate that, and we can get that applied for. But no, I think that's a great thing to have, and we're going to take full advantage of it if we can have our partners involved in pushing that envelope. And
Great. Okay, moving on, Diane, Matt, LDC report.
Okay, so the class is going well. We have 13 participants. I know I mentioned the businesses to the LDC, but I don't remember who's in the class with this board. So we have 13 participants. One is Dolores Hansel. She owns Brushstroke Studio, used to be in Medina. She moved it to the Arnold Gregory building, and she's taken 3 offices, and she's done a beautiful job. Chris owns the coffee joint in Albion. He's in my class. Lisa Gardner, she owns an LAG design engraving business in Albion. Tiffany Allen, she lived in Hawaii for 12 years, came back to Albion and wants to open up a food truck. Pamela Eaton, she owns Hometown Wellness Center in Holly. Cassandra Brady owns an iced and glazed bakery, bakery business in Albion. Rebecca Alexander, she owns the W's Tailgate in Albion. Andrew LaFave wants to open up a plastic recycling business. Kristen Ostrander, new owner of Bloom's Flower Shop in Albion. Amanda Vasquez, a bakery in Medina. That's what she wants to open. Deborah Press owns Red Street Home Decor in Albion. Jessica Scahan, she's an artist, wants to open up a shop in Medina. And Erin Hills is a makeup artist. So anyways, so those are the people in my class.
Nice diversity.
Yeah, yeah. In the HUD, unrestricted funds, we have 10,373.07. In the money market, we have 84,987.
Great, thank you, Diane. Questions? All right, moving on. Kevin, legal.
You jumped an item, Paul.
Well, pilot report.
You did.
What?
Actually, you jumped an item on the agenda. I think Diane has to deliver
Oh,
the
pilot.
pilot report.
Oh, I'm
first.
sorry. Yes, I
Okay.
did.
All the pilots are current.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you.
I'm just trying to get off the hook here, Paul.
Yeah, no, it's not gonna work. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning, Paul.
Legal.
Okay, just a quick update. You guys know we track the bills that are floating through the legislature. And every year there are bills that impact IDAs. In the last, I don't know, 30, 45 days, you guys have probably heard about that bill that wants to limit the ability of elected officials to serve on IDA boards. Well, it passed the Senate again, which it did last year as well, and then it died in the Assembly. So just reporting on that again did happen, went through the Senate, they passed it, it is now before the Assembly. We'll see where that goes. The other one is a bill that Senator Ryan is proposing that would take away the IDA's ability to exempt school tax as part of the transactions. Now that's of course would create some challenges in terms of, what your pilots look like.
Sure.
That is out there and floating around as well. But having done this for a long time, I mean, these kind of bills, it seems like it's a cottage industry in some
Yeah.
respects. But you have to pay attention to them, and you don't always know. So
Well, you never know when one's gonna get through.
right, and we do get updated as well from the Economic Development Council on these things. I know Michael gets those reports as well. So we do track them, but just something I wanted to update the board on. We haven't had a conversation about it in a while.
Right. Great. Thank you,
You're welcome.
Kevin. Questions? Moving on, marketing, Michael.
Yeah, so we talked a little earlier about what we're working on with Dina, all the grants and initiatives to target grant dollars, and National Grid does have that dollar for dollar marketing match grant. So we're working on that with Mary Grace. Dina's been on the phone with her discussing that. And then there's another partner within National Grid that is very fluent in the Canadian market. So that's where part of this calls all going to get tied together, is approaching the Canadian market with National Grid dollars and our dollars and cutting basically everything in half. And they have a book of clients in the Canadian market that they've worked in the past that we're going to work with from a target marketing standpoint to go, whether it's flyers or promote, or basically our collateral, getting it to them, or how we want to market it. We're going to work with National Grid the best opportunities to do that, and what they would suggest to kind of target the Canadian market on that standpoint. But that's in the coming months. We're still a little bit far out before we get to that point. But it's good to see National Grid providing a lot of information and opportunities that we can target the Canadian market, because it's been in our wheelhouse to have the Canadian companies come down and work with us. So that's where that stands.
Well, I'm wondering too, if the entire COVID thing, we know how much that restricted any relationship we had with our Canadian neighbors. And with that kind of being taken care of, I wonder if that's going to start opening up, hopefully a backflow of interest in moving in our direction. That would be great
Yeah.
for all of us. So,
We're looking at another secondary project with Pride Path, if we can
Right.
find them the right, not at their particular site, where they are, but secondary, if we can find them the location. So
we've always had good relations with our Canadian partners. Absolutely. All right. Any questions for Michael on that? If not, I'd be happy to entertain a motion to move into executive session for the proposed discussion of the proposed acquisition, sale, and lease of real property. So motion by Skip, seconded by John. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We are now in executive session. Okay, moving on. Unfinished business, any unfinished business? Hearing none, we'll move into new business. First item is consideration for the approval of the 2021 year-end report. And I believe you will see a copy of that in your packet.
So this is a combination of all three agencies combined in one document. I really cookie cutter followed kind of what Jim had kind of prior established. It seemed easier so we could see from a standpoint of what every agency is really doing. So project wise for 2021, the Benz Opera House included on that end with the sales tax abatement. You'll see there the jobs created and estimated investment on that end. And then obviously we have our 2022 projects identified because they haven't closed or are not completed yet. We have the Heritage Wind, Big Guys Camping, which this year I saw they are taking reservations for the campground. So they're actually making some progress there, and it's good to see. And then obviously we've got the solar project on there. West New York Energy has their existing project they're working on now. Hotel and then Bowman. On page 2, you'll see the pilot revenue that we brought in for 2021. The county received 356,000, the towns 200,000, villages 127,000, and schools 775,000. So grand total projects initiated by the IDA accumulated $1.45 million for the county municipalities. So hopefully that number keeps growing with future projects. Updates from last year, we sold the remaining part of the Elgin Business Park to Chicasa. The Medina Business Park, we sold the acreage to Bowmet for their future project. And then obviously we still have 3959 Bates Road, DEC that's where DEC finally gave us an amount to remedy the rest of that property at $5.some million for cleanup. So that's ongoing thing there. But operations wise, last year, a new CEO, myself, was appointed, and then continued efforts with Mindful Media on our marketing website and partnerships with Invest Buffalo and GRE. And that's really for IDA. And as we get into land rest, 2 projects that we started or initiated last year were the San Bistros project and the Velocity project. You'll see there the amounts to be invested and then jobs created from that. So it's a good things from land rest standpoint. Above on page 3, you'll see the LBC. Their accumulation for the 200,000 in the MAP program that we received. Diane had a total of 19 participants last year, which brought the grand total to 544 for the program through which we started calculating that. And then UCO is playing with the LEC. And below you see the community involvement for each of the staff members as well. Any questions on that report?
Kind of nice to see it all in one place. I'm kind of like, oh yeah, I kind of forgot about that, and I forgot about that. So it's nice to see. Okay,
I just have one comment on Western New York Energy. It's showing 25 million. They actually tagged something like 34 million. Just
is that an official number
that
or?
was the number they gave to National Grid
Okay.
because they have an existing grant from National Grid.
Okay, thank you. Okay, happy to entertain a motion to accept the 2021 year-end report. John, seconded by John. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Moving on, consideration for the approval of the 2021 Paris report. It's not in your packet here, but you all received a copy of that electronically.
basically all the stuff we've been approving in governance and finance the past 4 months. Consolidated to that report and submitted. Get Paris, so,
Any questions on the Paris report?
no, I'll move it.
Motion to move by Skip, seconded by John. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion
Yeah.
carried. Item next, consider the resolution authorizing the agreement with H. Sickerman and Company in connection with the agency's economic development activities.
So this resolution, Kevin, you can correct me if I'm missing something. We need to get set up as we work with Sickerman on the micro enterprise program via IDA staffing through to the LDC. And simultaneously, we also need to have it set up for the individual OCR projects that Land Rest Corporation is working on via COIDA staff to Land Rest on Velocity and Zambistro project. So, and it's a new state requirement. We talked with Chuck Bell on Wednesday, and the state's asking that there be separate agreements per project through OCR. So from the documentation, paper trail standpoint, they're asking for each of that to accumulate, and then this resolution enacts all 3 of those items.
I think you had it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nailed it. Questions? Okay, be happy to entertain a motion authorizing the agreement with H. Sickerman and Company. John, seconded by Skip. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. And one last piece of business. I would like to inform the board that I will be stepping down as chairman of this board at the conclusion of this board meeting. So that's immediately upon adjournment. My reasons are increased responsibilities in my personal life. I will be staying on as a member of the board. But what that means is at some point in time, you folks are responsible for choosing a new chairman. Let me just say it's been both my honor and pleasure to serve as a chairman of this group. Probably one of the best boards I serve on. No private agendas. Everybody's focused on doing what's best for the residents of Orleans County. And that's refreshing. So I appreciate you giving me the confidence and the ability to work with you. Great group to work with. Questions or comments?
My only comment is you've done a great job with your leadership. Tremendous progress.
Thank you, John.
How many years have you been?
But you guys made my job easy. It's a great board.
How many
How long
years?
have you been chair?
That many, huh?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't know.
It all runs together. right?
Well, you want to say this number of years, but it never is. It's a
I
lot
don't
more.
remember.
I'll have to look at the minutes. I can do that.
John
Or
is
look-
our longest, and then Skip. And then.
Yeah.
You came on after me.
Pardon me?
No, I came on before Skip.
I think you did
You
too.
came out before Skip?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
When
I
I
came-
came on, Dave Lewis was chair. and
Correct.
You were the vice chair.
Yes,
John. you were
John was
vice
the vice chair.
Oh.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
And when Dave decided to move on, we really wanted John to be the chairman, but at that time, his job, he was doing a lot of traveling and he kind of begged off of it and I was chosen, but I was of the personal opinion that it really should have gone to John because he had the greatest longevity and the greatest knowledge of the organization. So I don't know, how long has Dave Lewis been gone? 5 years? 6 years?
More.
More?
Oh,
I think
definitely.
so.
8 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Really?
not a while.
Wow.
Jim Allport was on the board then, so that.
I first got involved with this agency, you recruited me, back when the office was in the old Lipton plant.
Yeah, we do.
And God, that was a long.
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Oof.
I had a good eye. You gotta give credit.
I can't wait, just so you know, I think the first 10 years of me on this board, they've been here longer. We worked out dug out of a deep hole. Not sure how else to say that.
In a variety of different ways,
Yeah.
more than just financial.
Yeah. Right.
Yes.
But one was from a local attorney, one was from a former executive director. There were a lot of holes that we were digging out. It took you guys forever.
We survived it though.
Thanks for what you did.
The tenacity of the group. It really was the tenacity of the group. Just again, stay focused on that goal.
Well, we don't live in a linear world. There's ebb and flow.
Yeah.
We'll get-
Well,
we'll get
as I
this
said to
tight.
somebody recently, sometimes doing the right thing is hard, but it's important to do the right thing. And this board's always done that. Alrighty,
Thank you for everything.
no, thank you. If nothing else, I entertain a motion.
I think we should appoint you. I
Okay,
think we should wait. So I have a line back, just bring this to the floor.
no,
Okay.
That's
I'd
the
like-
chair.
I'd
Pleasure of
like
the
to
chair.
nominate John this evening.
so we have a motion to appoint John Nacidi as the chairman of the IDA board. Do we have a second to that? Seconded by John. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Congratulations, John, and I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more that John is the very best candidate for that.
Big shoes to fill. Do my best.
Well, size 15, but that's all.
Those are big.
You'd think I'd walk on water, but it doesn't work.
Going forward, because you're gonna need a vice chair. And it's up to the group, but my suggestion, I think my travel is gonna ramp up a lot more than it is. And Diane frequently needs somebody to sign checks. So I'll stay if you can work around that, but I think you should consider John being your treasurer. And I would be willing to be the vice chair if the group's agreeable to that. If you're not, I'll leave it alone, but I think you should think about that. Doesn't have to be today.
I'm not doing any more thinking about
No, I'm
that.
talking to the group.
Okay,
I'm fine with that.
you want to make a motion or?
Well, I'm gonna ask, I don't mean to interrupt you, but ask
No.
Kevin and Diane, because she's gonna have to change a lot of accounts
Yeah.
of signers, so can we do that today, effective later, or
Oh, you
should we
mean-
wait till next month? I mean, rearrange your,
Oh, yeah, that takes a
it's
while.
gonna take you a little bit,
That's gonna take a while.
so
Yeah.
I don't care if we don't do it today, but I think we should look at that.
Should we make the motion today so you can start the process? The motion.
It's not effective until you file it, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I
you
think
know what, all I have to do is change you
Change
as
your
a signer,
signature.
that's
Right.
all.
signature.
Yeah,
card
yeah,
change,
so
that's all
no,
with the
yeah,
bank.
so yeah, that's
Yeah,
all I'm
okay.
doing.
Well,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to take me
Right.
off and put John on.
Right,
Anyway,
yeah,
you
but
guys
that-
do
that's,
anyway,
do it all
that's,
anyway,
yeah,
right.
that's, yeah.
Well, let's do it at once.
Mhm.
I'll be happy to entertain a motion.
Well, I don't think I. Motion now, myself.
We'll make a motion. Any motion to make Skip the vice chairman. John.
So we have a motion on the floor, appointing Skip Draper as the vice chairman of the board and John to be the treasurer. We have a second to that motion.
You would have to make the second because
It's
I
gonna
don't know.
ask Kevin that, if, should we do it
No, I think
separately?
you can second the motion.
You can?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think it's fine.
Okay.
Sure, I said,
As long as
Okay,
everybody's
so
in
we got a
agreement
second.
on the motion.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Congratulations, gentlemen. Little extra in your paycheck this month.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think needed to be addressed is finding. Filling the book, spot.
We're gonna have six at two.
There will be two, yeah. We've floated some names around, still looking for names. If you can think of anybody that you think would fill. I asked one individual and again, due to personal reasons, they declined.
It's Jen currently assigned.
I don't know if there's anybody in the, not investor, it's the leadership Thank you. The Leadership Orleans group. I mean, we've had some people that have gone through there.
We can look back
There's,
at-
pardon me?
we can look back at.
Yeah,
past,
there might be some
graduates.
people there,
Yeah, okay.
so,
It's a 7-member board, correct?
Yes.
yes.
Because
Okay.
It needs added focus rather than just.
Correct. Correct. And hopefully somebody that's gonna be around for a long while and you can get a little longevity. Nice too. Okay, if there's nothing more, be happy to entertain a motion to adjourn. Skip, seconded by John. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. We are adjourned at 9:25.